You know that feeling of being in a circle of friends? Maybe at a 4th of July barbecue or a Thanksgiving dinner, and you start telling a story and suddenly you realize no one is paying attention. You try to raise your voice, give that awkward smile, but the conversation simply passes right over you. You become ghost in the room. Then you go back home, throw your keys on the counter and think, man, I must be the most boring person in the world. Why do I even try? But let me tell you a truth that will take a huge weight off your shoulders. You are not boring. Your problem is not your personality. It is not your sense of humor, and much less your lack of adventures to tell. What is destroying your social interactions is what I call the invisible mistake. It is a habit so subtle that 99% of people commit it on autopilot, causing others to look for the first escape route from the conversation in a matter of seconds. Today, I will show you exactly what this mistake is and how you can fix it. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, I will reveal the only mental key that changes the whole game. It is the secret, transforms the person who is ignored in the circle into that guy everyone makes a point to listen to. But for us to reach that level of charisma, we first need to understand how you are sabotaging your own dialogues. You know when you try to keep a conversation alive, but it feels like you are conducting an FBI interrogation? Yeah, that is the famous invisible mistake in action. When we get nervous or afraid of that awkward silence, our mind goes into survival mode. We transform what should be a genuine emotional exchange into a literal game of logical ping pong, a kind of job interview disguised as a casual chat. You start firing automatic questions. So, how are things at work? Did you hit a lot of traffic on the freeway today? Did you catch the game on Sunday? The person responds with an all good. It was fine, I did. And the conversation simply dies right there, hitting a brick wall. The big problem is that, while the other person is speaking, you are not really listening. Admit it. You are trapped in your own head, almost panicking, thinking, my God, what do I say now? What is the next question to not let the subject die? This anxiety pulls you out of the present moment. Your interlocutor notices this mechanical energy. They feel that you are not really there, that you are just following a social script to avoid silence. And do you know what happens when we feel that the other person is on autopilot? We zone out. We make the classic excuse of going to get another beer from the cooler or going to say hi to someone across the room and simply disappear. Real communication is not about planning your next line, but about being there, focused on the emotion of whoever is in front of you. And look, it took me a long time to understand this, and the price I paid was going through situations that make me cringe just remembering. Let me tell you about a specific night when my ego floor, but which changed my perspective forever. I remember perfectly. It was one of those Friday night house parties in a suburban neighborhood. There was loud music playing in the living room, people grouped in the kitchen laughing, and me there, near the fridge, cold sweating and trying to fit in. A guy from my work, who was always super sociable and the center of attention, stopped next to me and, to make conversation, asked how my long weekend trip to Colorado was. I thought, this is my chance. I have stories, I saw cool things, and then I started to vomit a chronological and lifeless script. Oh, it was cool. We caught the flight on Friday morning, arrived at the hotel. The view was beautiful. We went skiing on Saturday. It was very cold, like snowing a lot. Sunday we ate at a nice steakhouse restaurant and returned on Monday. I swear to you, it wasn't even 20 seconds. I saw the guy's eyes become opaque, as if a curtain of boredom descended right there. He gave a polite smile, one of those that didn't reach the eyes, and delivered the classic, wow, that's cool, man. I'm going over there to get more ice. He never came back with the ice. Instead, 5 minutes later, I saw him across the room, laughing out loud with a group while telling some random story. I felt tiny. It seemed like I didn't exist. It was at that exact moment, leaning against that fridge, that the penny dropped. I realized that the fault was not who I am, my experiences, or the places I visited. The problem was how I delivered the message. My invisible mistake was transforming me into the most boring guy at the party. And the worst part is that I didn't even know why. Do you know what the crucial difference is between the story I told and one that grabs attention? The answer will make you rethink everything you say. The blunt truth is this: people don't really care about facts. They care about what those facts mean to you and how you felt. Think about it. If you tell a friend, "Man, I went to the movies yesterday to watch the new Batman film, and I thought it was cool, lots of action," you just threw a bucket of ice on the conversation. You delivered a fact. Facts shut the topic down. They don't leave room for the other person to step into your world. The most they can reply is, "Oh, cool." And that's it. It's over. The facts trap is thinking you're being interesting because you did something when you're really just reading a weekend report. Now, notice the difference if you turn it into a story. You don't say you went to the movies. You say, "You won't believe my luck yesterday. I went to watch that Batman film. I was really excited. I got to the theater and literally the power went out during the best scene. You know that chase in the dark? Dude, the whole theater went silent. I got really frustrated, but then the guy next to me started making engine noises with his mouth. I ended up spending more time laughing at other people's panic than actually watching the movie." See the difference? In the first version, you informed. In the second, you connected. You brought context, emotion, frustration, and then humor. Most importantly, conflict. Stories hold attention because as they're human, facts are just data on a hard drive. And no matter how good your story is, if your body is sending the wrong message, it won't help. There is a silent disconnect that kills conversations before you even open your mouth. If you don't control your body, it will tell a story that you don't want people to hear. This is called bodily disconnection. I used to do this all the time. I was listening to someone tell something super exciting, like buying their first apartment or getting a raise at work. There, look, a Mount Rushmore statue. Arms crossed, lost gaze, nodding my head like a rusty robot. Do you think the person wanted to keep telling me the news? No way. My body was screaming, "Man, I would rather be anywhere else on the planet right now." The problem is that the words that come out of our mouths represent only a small part of our communication. The way you carry yourself says the rest. When you are in a circle of friends, on a Tinder date, or even talking to a supermarket cashier, if the person is telling something, they need to feel safe to open up to you. Your body needs the solid ground for them. And how do we do that? It is not magic, it is basic science. It is a principle called mirroring. You don't need to copy every movement, otherwise you will look like a bizarre mime. But if the person is excited about something, smile and raise your eyebrows. If they are recounting a hardship or something serious, slow down, lower your voice a little, lean your body forward a bit, and decrease the distance between you. It is a subtle nod, a look in the eyes that lasts a little longer, and the magic happens. The interlocutor relaxes. They think unconsciously, "Wow, this guy is on the same wavelength as me." It is this safety that makes people let their guard down and truly converse. And then we enter a territory where you not only listen, but validate their existence. And how do you do that without looking like you are interrogating? I call it the echo technique. The echo technique has nothing to do with you repeating the last words the person said like a broken record. It is much deeper. When you are listening to someone, pay close attention to the emotion beneath that speech. Someone just told you they spent 3 hours in terrible traffic on the I-405 in Los Angeles. Instead of you saying, "Oh wow, traffic jams are tough," what do? You find the frustration and return it to the person. You say, "Wow, you must have been exhausted by that, man. It is too frustrating to lose so much time." Done. What just happened? You validated the other person's feeling. You didn't give a guess, didn't tell that you also caught worse traffic. You just echoed the emotion, showed that you listened. This simple change of perspective transforms the person. They feel understood on a level that almost no one can reach. Validation works because most people we meet on a daily basis don't listen to us. They are just there exchanging information, or worse, just waiting for their turn to talk about themselves. Human beings have a desperate need to be understood. That is how you leave the surface and dive into something real. If the person says, "Man, I just left that job," and they have a face of relief, you echo the relief. It seems like you took a piano off your back. If they are worried, you echo the worry. You don't need to solve their problem. Just prove that you are truly paying attention. But the true mastery of conversation doesn't lie in what you say or how you listen, but in the total absence of words. Which brings me to one of the most uncomfortable and most powerful weapons you can use: strategic silence. Remember, we talked about how anxiety makes us fill every empty space with empty questions? Well, we have an irrational dread of silence. If the conversation stops for 2 seconds, it feels like a bomb is going to explode. And we run to throw any word, any nonsense into the air, just to kill that awkward emptiness. But what you don't realize is that silence, when used on purpose, is your biggest advantage. It is the power of uncomfortable silence. The next time someone finishes telling something, especially if it is something a bit more personal or important, do not respond immediately. Hold your horses. Count to 3 in your head. 2, 3. What will happen is magical and a little scary at first. Human nature hates a vacuum. When you don't fill the space with an automatic or a new question, the other person will feel the need to keep talking. And it is at that exact moment they go off script and say what they are really thinking. They will complement the sentence with something like, "Actually, this has been keeping me awake lately," or, "To tell the truth, I didn't even want to go." You just dug deeper into the conversation without saying a single word. Silence shows that you are not in a hurry, that you are processing what they said, and that you are comfortable with their presence, even without noise. Furthermore, when you finally speak after a pause like that, your words gain an absurd weight. The person thinks, "Wow, he thought before answering. What he is going to say now must be important." But all right, you manage to make the person talk. But what happens when you are stuck in that classic initial conversation that goes nowhere? We have to find a way get out of this boring surface quickly. If we were to compare a conversation to a house, the famous small talk is just the doormat at the entrance. It is the "Hi, how are you?" the "How's the weather?" or the classic "So, what do you do for a living?" The problem is that most people build the entire house right there on the doormat. They keep stomping their boots at the door, exchanging these ready-made phrases for half an hour. And in the end, no one can take it anymore. That is why everyone says they hate small talk, because it is boring, predictable, and generates absolutely no connection. But the secret is not to avoid small talk. It is to use it just to open the door. Right after, pull the person inside the house. And how do you do that? By exchanging generic questions, specific questions that seek an emotion or an opinion. Instead of asking, "How was your week?" which will generate the automatic answer, "Oh, it was busy," you throw a lifebuoy for the person to escape boredom. You ask, "What was the best thing that happened in your week so far?" Or, "What was the most stressful part of this project you took on?" Do you feel the difference? You took the weight off the "How are you?" and threw the person into the field of emotions. Another classic example. You ask, "What do you do at work?" and the guy replies, "I am an accountant." Instead of saying, "Oh, that's cool," and letting the awkward silence turn, you engage. And what excites you the most in your field lately? Or what is the biggest hassle you go through with clients nowadays? Specific transition questions make the person stop reciting their resume and start talking about something they really care about. And that changes everything. People love talking about themselves when you give them space, so they don't seem like they are bragging or just going through the motions. Now, if you apply all the techniques I have talked about so far, things will already improve a lot. But none of this, neither the mirroring, nor the silence, nor the stories, will do any good if you do not have the centerpiece that ties it all together. It is the key that I promised back at the beginning of the video. It is what separates merely good communicators from genuinely magnetic people. You can memorize all the mirroring techniques in the world, master perfect eye contact, and have an arsenal of rehearsed stories. But if you enter a conversation apologizing for existing, people will smell your insecurity from miles away. This is the secret I promised you. No communication technique holds up if you do not have the deep conviction that your thoughts have value. The root of charisma is not being the funniest guy, nor the smartest in the room. It is having the tranquility of someone who knows what they think and is not afraid to back it up. The invisible mistake that makes you seem boring or invisible is actually born from your desperate need to please everyone. When you are constantly filtering your opinions, trying to guess what the other person wants to hear, agreeing with things you think are idiotic just to avoid conflict, you become generic. You become a blank page. And nobody remembers a blank page. Magnetic people are not afraid to polarize a little bit. They say, I disagree with that view on that Batman film. For me, the best one is still Christopher Nolan's, and I'll explain to you why. When you have this confidence, not arrogance, but the confidence of someone who knows themselves, the conversation flows because you stop performing. You are no longer on stage trying to get applause. You are there, present, being yourself. And people are attracted to this authenticity like magnets. They respect those who have a backbone. But to reach this level of confidence, you need to do work that almost no one wants to do nowadays. And it is that goes far beyond any communication tip I gave you today. It is the basis of everything. The basis of all this confidence is not born from talking to dozens of people all the time. Ironically, your ability to be incredibly interesting to others begins when you learn to be alone with your own thoughts. Without the cell phone, without a podcast playing in the background in the car, without escaping to TikTok, you need to know what you think about the things of the world. Form your own solid opinions and understand what you value. So then, when you open your mouth in a circle of friends, your voice has real substance and is not just an echo of the opinions you saw in some feed. Good communication is a muscle, and it only grows with training, but the foundation of that muscle is self-knowledge built in silence. I do not expect you to go out there tomorrow, turning into the king of charisma and applying all 10 topics at once. Choose just one thing. Tomorrow, when you go get a coffee or meet someone in the office hallway, try not to answer with a dry fact. Try holding that 3-second silence after the person finishes and watch the magic happen. And if this video made a switch flip in your head about how you have been communicating, leave your like down below, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos, and tell me in the comments, what is your biggest difficulty when you are trying to keep a conversation alive with someone you just met? I will read all the comments. Thanks for staying until here, and we will see each other in the next video.